is Matt from Theater and Stream, and welcome to the first edition in a new series of videos. If you're kind of familiar with our little channel here, you'll know that Chuck and we do our mainline show every other week. And then every so often, we do what we call minisodes, which are basically 10 to 15 minute video essays kind of devoted to one particular subject. And now I'm kind of hoping to incorporate some of these videos into the mix. Basically, what these are going to be is they're going to be 5-minute reviews of new movies. And more specifically, all October long, I'm going to be reviewing the latest horror films, leading all the way up to Halloween. I'm hoping to do at least 3 more of these videos this month, and maybe we'll keep it going afterwards, into November, into December. But I guess before I get into this actual 5-minute review, I kind of, might get the question, why am I doing this now? Why are we creating a new series now? Well, you may have seen on our channel that our main show, our main podcast is going on a little bit of a hiatus. And so basically, long story short, Chuck has been hit with a pretty major tragedy in his personal life. And it's not really my story to tell, but he was gracious enough to post a written update on our channel. So you can go and read that, and please do send some love his way. But now, I guess for the impossible pivot, here is your 5-minute review of VHS Halloween. This film was released on October 3rd. It is the latest installment in the horror anthology series that has now become kind of annualized and exclusive to the streamer Shudder. I have seen all 7 of the previous VHS films, and if you want to know kind of where I stand on those entries before going into this review, I'm going to have all those on screen right now in sort of my favorite to least favorite order. VHS Halloween, it has 5 short films, and then it has 1 wraparound story. And like all other VHS movies, this entry's wraparound story, which is called Diet Phantasma, it really only exists to place a narrative barrier between all the other short films. Even as a story, it's really just an excuse to introduce a series of escalating practical gore effects. There's not a whole lot of interest going on here. I guess at the very least, it does have logical points to kind of break up the story, which isn't always the case in these wraparound shorts that they have in these movies. But the actual first short that we get is called Coochie Coochie Coo. And this is about 2 teenage girls who stumble into a stranger's house on Halloween. And they find what I can only really describe as a cross between like a haunted daycare and a deranged dairy farm. Like, this is a really, really weird short to start with. It's not really scary in like a terrifying, like jump scare sense, but there are a lot of disturbing images kind of surrounding lactation and force feeding a person. And these images, they're pretty hard to shake, in my opinion. If you're somebody who has problems with AI art being used in film, I would say go no further, because this short does have AI art, and it's very, very obvious what the AI art is, where it's being used. It's basically AI-generated still photography. And there seems to be a lot of pissing and moaning about this. It's kind of dominating the conversation about the entire movie. And, quite frankly, I'd be more worried about who is actually funding these movies these days, rather than like a couple AI photos. Next up is Ut Supra Sic in Infra. And as you can probably guess by my butchering of the title there, this is a Spanish language short. This is done by Paco Plaza. You may know him from the Spanish movies Rec. I think there's 4 of them now. This one, it takes a while to get going, This one's kind of slow. There's like the sole survivor of a killing spree, and what he's doing is he's walking detectives through basically like a crime scene reconstruction, kind of as he remembers it. And once everything pops off, there's a lot of fun to be had in this one. If you've got a problem with eye gouging, I'd stay away from this one. Honestly, it has some of the most convincing like eyes popping out of their sockets or getting thumbed out of their sockets effects that I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, fun one. Not really that memorable, but very fun. And yeah, speaking of fun, the third one sandwiched right in the middle is called Fun Size. This short is by, I guess, another notable director. This is from Casper Kelly, who you may be familiar with if you watch a lot of Adult Swim. I guess most famously, Too Many Cooks. I guess what to expect with this one is that same sort of off-putting anti-humor vibe. The setup is basically a group of teens. They go up to the front door of a house. There's a candy bowl outside that says take one. They take more than one candy out of the bowl, and they get sucked into dimensional portals, into like a weird candy factory. So yeah, I mean, expect that. You know what you're getting here if you've ever seen Too Many Cooks. There's penises getting turned into candy bars. The teens get offed one by one by a killer that looks like the Jack in the Box mascot. Everything is uncanny valley. The dialogue is so bad that, you know, you kind of wonder, was this intentional or is it just bad dialogue? There's one character in this that continually refers to his girlfriend as fiance, fiance, instead of using her actual name. And so, yeah, I don't know what that's about, but it came across as really like cringe and awkward, but I think it was supposed to be funny. Not my favorite, but maybe for fans of Squidbillies and Aqua Teen. I don't know. The next one is Kid Print. I don't really have a lot to say about this one. It feels very slight and superficial, kind of like the director like stumbled across the Wikipedia page for the short's title and then decided to write a short about it. If you don't know, the word kid print or kid printing, it was a service that video rental stores offered in the 1990s. And basically what they did is they recorded children onto VHS tapes so that their parents would basically have reference material to give to the police if the kids ever went missing or were kidnapped or something. And so you can probably see where this one's going. This is one of the more extreme segments, I think, ever in a VHS movie. There's a lot of children crying, screaming, being tortured. It's not really my thing. Maybe if you're a fan of like 2000s French New Extremity, you'd like it, I guess. But I don't know. I found it pretty shallow. And then finally, the last short is called Home Haunt. I can kind of understand why they stuck this one at the very end. It's kind of keeping really, really to the Halloween theme of all of these segments. It's basically a found footage. It's found footage of a camera going through like one of those haunted house attractions. You know, if you've ever heard of like Universal Horror Nights or whatever it's called. And then basically what happens is the attraction, of course, becomes a little too real. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know how the VHS movies divvy up these movies' budget, but it's very, very clear that this short probably got the lion's share of the budget because there's a lot of effects in this one. There's a lot of very 2000s looking CGI. But all in all, this is a really fun one to kind of send audiences packing to sort of get you in that Halloween spirit. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give VHS Halloween a soft recommend. Just soft, not a hard recommend. Don't go subscribing to Shudder just for this movie, you know, this month. It's a middle of the pack entry in this series. You know, I personally think when the VHS movies started, I always got the sense that these movies existed because they got 5 directors together who all had really killer story ideas for short films, and they were basically looking for a reason to film them. And now, I don't know, these later entries have gotten a little too tongue-in-cheek. It seems like they only really exist to either scare people, to be gory, or to be nostalgia bait for fans of classic horror. You know, there's a shot in one of these shorts that lingers a little too long on a Fangoria magazine. You know, kind of as if to say, look here, here's the thing that you like, person who's watching this. And you know, the type of person that type of, you know, really, really superficial bullshit works on is exactly the type of person who's going to love this movie. For me, I'd rather see these movies kind of being used as the training ground for the next big names in horror filmmaking. Because I mean, you can go back and just look at the directors that did the shorts for the first VHS movie. And now look at where these guys' careers are now. It's pretty crazy. But that's going to be it for me today. Please do all of that stuff that YouTubers normally ask you to do at the end of their videos, and look for more of these in the next month or so. Thanks for watching.